Hello and welcome to the Play Review with me, Douglas Schatz.
And me, Jodi Rylett.
Hello, Jodi.
Hello, Douglas.
Lovely to see you.
You too.
So I thought that we could do a quick roundup of what we've seen so far in the first 2 months of this year. I've enjoyed a number of stimulating shows already, and I'd be interested to compare notes on some of these and anything else that you'd recommend.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, first off, Guess How Much I Love You at the Royal Court, which unfortunately has now finished its short run there, which was completely sold out, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Though I wouldn't be surprised if it transferred at some point because it received fantastic reviews for the play and the performances. And to add to that luster, the cast includes Robert Aramayo, who has just won the BAFTA Best Actor Award for his extraordinary performance as John Davidson, who suffers from Tourette syndrome in the film I Swear. That is an astounding performance, by the way, if you haven't seen it, and I highly recommend the film. You wouldn't know it was the same actor when you see him on stage here in this play. In fact, Guess How Much I Love You is essentially a two-hander with Aramayo joined by the wonderful Rosie Sheehy as a couple who suffer the terrible trauma of a pregnancy that does not go as they would have hoped. This is a new play written by actor Luke Norris and directed by Jeremy Herron, who has previous form with Trauma, having directed People, Places, and Things. Now, I know that you've been known to cry at emotional scenes in the theater, Jodi, and I did warn you about this play, didn't I?
You did.
So were you overcome by this?
I was. And I mean, I'm pretty sure every single person who was in that theatre also were overcome. I couldn't catch my breath at one point in terms of just waiting for what you knew was the case to be confirmed to you.
Yeah.
Almost suddenly caught myself not breathing, so I took a breath. But yes, it was incredibly moving, both in the storytelling, but in their performances. Rosie Sheehy is something else.
Yes, she is, isn't she? She's so relentlessly raw and brave. It's like she has no skin to filter her nerves and anger and grief. She's just astonishing. She's been exceptional in everything I've seen her do. She was brilliant in Mackinac at the Old Vic and in Romeo and Juliet, the National, I thought. And Robert Aramayo was a very good foil, so different, so grounded on the surface, but suffering as well, of course. And they were very good at the everyday stress, I think, that would afflict a couple that have to live together after trauma, each carrying their own private responses.
Yeah.
There's a shattering theatrical moment in the middle of the play when they find themselves dancing slowly in this hospital room, just astoundingly moving and beautifully staged.
It really was. And it was so intimate. That's why I think I found it so difficult to catch my breath. How, you can project that pain of what they were going through with that pregnancy and the choices that they had to make. I did feel uncomfortably like I was in the room with them. And I'm not sure how I felt about that afterwards. Did I think having that kind of served up as entertainment was okay? There was something off for me about how raw and brutal that was.
Do you not think those sort of stories need telling?
Yeah, they do. And inviting people into that pain with an actress like Rosie Sheehy who can really handle that with such honesty, it's in as safe hands as it can possibly be. But it was so very deeply affecting. I don't know. There was just something about it. Is this gratuitous? Am I being manipulated to feel this awful thing?
It's very sensitively done.
It is.
And very well observed, beautifully performed. By the way, the title actually refers to a classic children's book, Guess How Much I Love You, which I remember reading to my own children. And that added an extra element to it because the book is full of love. And in this case, the reference has both, I suppose, a kind of bleak irony, but also perhaps offers some hope in the end in the play.
Yeah.
It is very tough watch. There's no doubt about it. And there were many people deeply affected when I was there as well. In fact, I was chatting to a woman sitting next to me before the curtain. And I was saying that unusually for me, I didn't know anything about what was to come in this play. I deliberately not read about it beforehand. And she said she did, but regardless, she was in bits throughout. I was very aware of that. And at the end, I said to her that I had nearly reached out to give her a hug. I didn't, because one doesn't really do that. But I felt for her pain as
Yes.
she was feeling the pain she was witnessing. And I imagine that it could be very triggering for anyone who has had any experience of what this
Yeah.
couple goes through.
And as you say, it was handled with such care.
Yeah, it was devastating nonetheless. But I would highly recommend you do see it if it does reappear. It is deeply moving and memorable. So, what about your first choice of 2026 so far?
To talk about would be Our Town by Thornton Wilder, which is on currently at the Rose Theatre, starring the wonderful Michael Sheen in his first big venture of his voyage into re-establishing the Welsh National Theatre. And it's an American classic. It's performed in the US every bit as often as, say, Midsummer Night's Dream is performed, I guess, in the UK.
It is an American classic, and I think probably still taught, and as you say, very much performed there. But interestingly, it has a sort of Welsh twist in this production, doesn't it? They still refer to it being set in Grover's Corners, I think, in New England somewhere,
Yes.
but there is a Welsh spin on it.
There is, and I think they would have liked to have made it even more so, but I'm sure that the Thornton Wilder Foundation were very protective of the text. I have the play text here, and it says, "You hold in your hands the definitive in italics acting edition of Thornton Wilder's classic." So they might have wanted to have changed more than they did. One concession was they sang the actual songs from the original, but they allowed it to be in Welsh.
Yes, and also there's a point where Michael Sheen reels off a few of the local place names that are Welsh. And it sort of doesn't fit together, but doesn't matter because Michael Sheen has this magnetic stage presence, doesn't he? He's in total command, as he's supposed to be, as his character, the stage manager, is in fact orchestrating the play. And he has a magical voice, which he modulates so effortlessly, I thought, to
Yeah.
extract every ounce of interest out of the text he's speaking, and which is so wonderfully mellifluous. I mean, especially when he's reeling off Welsh place names, even if I have no idea what he's actually saying.
Yep.
But this is a special place in your heart, doesn't it? This play and this venue, even.
It really does. Yes, I performed this very play on that very stage with my son Billy in about 2019, and it was kind of the start of me really, really getting into theatre. So it has a very special place in my heart. So I am not necessarily a reliable witness in terms of how much I loved this production. However, from a purely theatrical experience perspective, Francesca Goodrich, who directed it, has done something astonishing. I mean, the play is always meant to be done with no scenery, very minimal props, everything's mimed until the big denouement at the end. And that ensemble was astonishing. And you are landed into this propulsive, high energy, frenetic pace as the stage manager's getting you to imagine the geography of Grover's Corners, however he says it. And these planks of wood, they're the Presbyterian church, they're the Methodist church, they're the railway line, they're the stairs that lead up to the bank. It's like, I didn't know where to look. And it was so fast and energetic.
Yeah, it's so inventive theatrically, isn't it? The designer, Haley Grindy, and as you say, director Francesca Goodrich do a great job with minimal movable props to evoke furniture and location, wooden ladders, flat boards.
The bar.
Become kitchen tables, a bar, shop counters. And actually, in the second part, in a really transporting touch, they literally raise the dead from their graves who are sitting
on step ladders. Genius.
Yes, that's fantastic. And I also thought the soundscape and the lighting was very effective. The whole show is a delight to watch and listen to.
I'm going again, Douglas, because I was in row B, but I felt like I couldn't take it all in properly. So I'm going again tonight, and I'm right up in the third row in the gods. I get very gooey about community and community theatre. This play is all about community. The absolute heart of the show is the moment when Emily comes back from beyond the grave and sees a moment in time, and it just goes too fast. And she's saying, "Look at me, Mom, look at me." I think, God, that's how we live our lives. We need to slow down.
Yeah, good message. And this is great for the Rose. This must be bringing people from town out to the Rose because of Michael Sheen, obviously.
Yeah.
I think the play teeters on the sentimental with its Norman Rockwell portrait of small town America. But I think it's rescued from that in the end by this philosophical last act and the meta structure of the piece as well. And of course, it's always a treat to see Michael Sheen in the flesh. And there is so much more from the fine cast and this very accomplished production, I would say. So if you can, go. It runs at the Rose until the 28th of March.
Yeah, there is still availability. It's almost sold out, but don't miss out. Tickets can still be had.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another one that's local to both of us is The Orange Tree in Richmond. And that's another show that we've both seen, Dance of Death. Legendary director Richard Eyre has adapted Strindberg's excoriating portrait of a viciously unhappy marriage, which I said to you makes Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf look like a comedy. He stages it in the round at the Orange Tree, which I think is very effective because we are drawn into this battle, ongoing bout between these two who are trapped in this terrible marriage. The play is set on a remote army fortress by the sea, somewhere one imagines in northern Scandinavia, where Edgar, the captain of the post, and his wife Alice are trapped with each other, miles from any shred of relief or alternative life. And the play is essentially them tearing each other apart, with Alice threatening to disgrace or kill Edgar, and he to leave her without any money. In Eyre's version, there is one other character, the third character being Kurt, who is haplessly caught in the middle of the battle between the couple, Alice trying to seduce him into helping her escape her husband. And he also moved the play a little bit in time. He set it in 1918. It was written in 1900. 1918 was the time of the Spanish influenza, which of course has echoes of COVID for us and further heightens his overall threat, I think, over the piece of sickness and isolation. What did you think of it? Did you enjoy this rancid battle between them?
I was dreading it for that reason and went in sort of girded and braced for it. I was really pleasantly surprised. So, yes, I enjoyed it. And also, the moments of levity that they found in it were really earned and necessary for the audience, and I imagine also for the actors. So I did enjoy it, and I thought in a way it was a less exhausting watch for me than rewatching Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, the film recently, which I almost had to have a lie down afterwards. They hate each other so much. So it wasn't quite as exhausting as that in the end. So yeah, I thought it was very enjoyable. I would recommend people go. I think it runs till the 7th of March. People can just about still get tickets if it's not sold out.
Yes, in fact, also it's being streamed online as well from the 10th to the 13th.
That's great. And I would recommend it, even if you don't like the sound of the play. The acting is outstanding. Will Keane, the way he portrays the illness of Edgar is astonishingly well done.
Yeah, he's almost psychotic as the husband.
Yeah.
But he has this fantastic physicality that evokes illness and pain. And I thought Lisa Dillon is wonderfully acid in her attack. She's like a trapped animal and desperate with her desire to escape and to live.
Yeah, they're locked in that battle, aren't they? The two of them. And they are absolute matches for each other, for sure.
Which I think is tough for Jeffrey Streatfeild, who played Kurt. It's very much a third wheel, isn't it? And it feels underpowered next to these two. That's probably more to do with the thankless part he has when he's buffeted back and forth between them as their respective pawn in the battle, basically. But I couldn't quite put my finger on what his take and response was. It was slightly less well-defined, I'd have said.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Anyway, there's still a chance to see it, and I would recommend it. It's somewhat unedifying, but still gripping.
It is. It absolutely is. And it's such an inventive space, the Orange Tree.
Yeah, well, I think it's very good in the round, actually, this show. As we say, it's a bit like a bout that we're watching.
Yeah.
Right. What else have you seen that you would recommend?
For lovers of musicals, Ballad Lines is still running till the 21st of March at Southwark Playhouse Elephant. It's about folk music, a mix of how stories are told through the ages, a mixture of Scottish, Irish, Appalachian ballads with some contemporary tunes rolled in. I love folk music. I love bluegrass music. It's getting rave reviews, and lovers of Hadestown, I would say go. I would have just liked to have had more folk.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then Gerry in Sewell, I saw, which amazingly transferred from the West End. a small play based in Newcastle. Essentially, a couple of scumbags, these boys, but you can't help but feel for them and want them to get their season ticket to Newcastle. Um, and I share it because it's an amazing provenance of story. Started in a tiny local producing theatre up in the northeast. Theatre Live picked it up in Newcastle, then got a transfer to Theatre Royal in Newcastle, and people are waving black and white flags. And then it got to the West End, and it's living on, it's touring. So it's worth looking that up. Gerry and Sewell by James Eastlake. If it's coming to a town near you, I'd say go and see it. Support that kind of
more community theater, local theater. Yeah. So it's on tour now somewhere, do you think?
I'm pretty sure they were touring afterwards. Yeah. I know for sure it's coming to Newcastle Theatre Royal again in June.
Okay, great. Now, you asked me about Arcadia at the Old Vic, which many think is Tom Stoppard's finest play. It's a structural masterpiece of ideas, as well as more, a teasing detective story, joyous comedy, in fact, as well. And I also thought emotionally rich. He's often accused of not being emotional, more intellectual, but this is, I think, a beautiful balance, this play. It's a beautiful production, directed by Kerry Cracknell, who's previously been responsible for some of my favorite shows of recent years, including Medea and The Deep Blue Sea at the National, both with the wonderful Helen McCrory. She stages Arcadia in the round at the Old Vic, which I think works wonderfully well. There's a slow revolve at times, which chimes with the themes of the play as it spins back and forth through time. And the flow between scenes and time setting is seamlessly fluent. The cast are all very good, managing to sustain great humor and warmth as they expound some of Stoppard's arcane scientific theories. Especially Isis Hainsworth is absolutely luminous as Thomasina, age 13 and then 17. She was fabulous, by the way, as Juliet at the Almeida a few years back, if you saw her there.
Oh, I did. And she was in Our Ladies of Perpetual Succor as well. She's good.
Yes. Yeah. Although this is a play fizzing with ideas and challenging for that, make no mistake, it is also, I thought, finally very moving as well. And seeing it now is all the more poignant and potent, of course, following Stoppard's death this past November. What a giant he was.
Is it still on?
Yes, Arcadia runs until the 21st of March. However, I'm afraid I think it's officially sold out. I would hope that it gets a transfer.
Oh, well, having heard you talk about it in those terms, I would love to see it. I was in the camp of, it's a bit ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to sit and watch some intellectual gymnastics? Is that what I want from my theatre? But as you know, I quite like to go and see things where I think I'm not going to like them, and I'm so frequently surprised. So
it's totally charming, actually. I mean, yes, there's lots of references to iterated algorithms and chaos theory and various things, but actually, I don't think it matters that you don't really get every single one of them, although I think it's just fun to pick up on all of these themes that are riffing through the play.
Yeah.
Connections between these ideas. And if you want to delve further into that, then yes, you then admire him even more for the way that he's actually structured this thing. It is a masterpiece in that respect. The only other one that I've seen that I might mention, which I thought was interesting, was Man and Boy, a late Terence Rattigan play at the Dorfman at the National Theatre. Centers on a megalomaniacal Romanian business tycoon whose corrupt financial empire is about to collapse, and he exploits his estranged son in a sort of sordid ruse to try to fend off the end. Ben Daniels gives a barnstorming performance as the larger-than-life business mogul, which is worth the price of admission, in fact, I would say. It's a slightly strange piece, although the subject echoes in our time of billionaires pulling the strings of global capitalism and the dangers therein. The play and production strike a strange tone. It's an uneasy mix of kind of raging melodrama and genuine emotional tension in the personal relationship between father and son. The son played with customary sensitivity by Laurie Kinniston.
Yeah, he was in Son.
Yes, he was at the Kiln.
That did break me.
You're easily broken. But yes, he's a very fine actor. It's surprisingly frank, this play, about the homosexuality that underpins the plot as well. Rattigan having been more oblique, of course, in his earlier work about that. And it's also given an expressionistic staging by director Anthony Lau, not what one expects for a Rattigan. And many critics didn't like it, but I quite enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure whether it's supposed to fit this play, but it was bold at least. and I think the show is probably worth checking out. You may not love it. I didn't know the play, and it's interesting to now know about it. And Ben Daniels is fabulous. It's still running until the 14th of March.
Okay.
So before we go, what else have you got coming up in your theatre diary that you're excited about, Jodi?
Excited about John Proctor as the villain at the Royal Court.
Yes.
Runs from 20th of March to the 25th of April. Excited a bit further into the future, Mass at the Donmar, starring Monica Dolan, who I love, Paul Hilton, who's amazing, and Adil Akhtar. So I don't even know what it's about. 18th of April to the 6th of June. I've got tickets for that.
I would go see Monica Dolan do anything.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah.
I've heard really great things about a play called Burnt Up Love by Shay Walker.
Where's that?
Teatro Technic, somewhere up in Mornington Crescent. Burnt Up Love by Shay Walker, 26th of March to the 18th of April. And I can't fit it in, unfortunately, but Monique Tuco's amazing production of Marie and Rosetta has transferred to Soho Place Theatre, which tells the amazing story of Sister Rosetta Thorpe, who was the electric guitar playing kind of godmother of rock and roll, said to have influenced Elvis, Johnny Cash, and Beverly Knight stars. It's a two-hander. It's a great piece of theatre.
Great.
I would see that again if I could.
Thank you for those. Yes, I'm booked to see John Proctor as the villain at the Royal Court. An American friend recommended it to me from its run in New York. It's a revisionist take on Miller's The Crucible. Very intriguing premise in that title, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm also seeing Arthur Miller's Broken Glass at the Young Vic next week. Another play I don't know by a great playwright, so definitely worth discovering. And Robert Icke's Romeo and Juliet in the West End. Have you booked for that?
I have not. That's completely passed me by. How's that happened?
It's Sadie Sink and Noah Jupe. Big stars, I believe. But I'm going because one has to see what Robert Icke will do with this. Robert Icke, obviously, one of the maverick directors of our time. And I'm also seeing Gorky's Summerfolk at the National, which, I don't know, but I do like the look of, and another thing to learn more about.
Yeah, I don't know Gorky. I would love to see that. Oh, and now how do I fit in the Romeo and Juliet as well? Noah Jupe was in Heartstoppers, wasn't he? I think, was that where he came to fame?
These are young actors who I don't know from other media who are going to fill the theater, but I'm going because Robert Icke is doing Romeo and Juliet. So we have a lot to look forward to, but thanks very much for today, Jodi. Great to see you, and we'll catch up again soon when we've seen all these others.
Excellent. See you soon.
Okay, bye everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
We'd love to hear what you think, so please visit theplaypodcast.com to share your comments or email us at plays@theplaypodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.